Hi, this is Daniel Ali. Welcome to Live at the Loft. Today I'm going to be speaking, having a discussion with Jonathan H. Ragins, the lead male actor of my new upcoming film, Delilah. Stick around.
So here we are. We're in post-production.
Yes.
It's been a good experience, huh?
Long time, long 6 months, right?
Yeah, man. I mean, when we first finished, it was like, wow, it's a long time. But now that we've been done for a couple of weeks, it's like it doesn't really seem like it was that long. You know what I mean? It's like there's no more to do. It's no more filming to do. It's like, wow, it's over.
I still wake up though, like for a minute. What I got to do today?
Right.
Like I think we got to go to the set.
Right. Some more. I need to schedule something or something like that. So you want to get into some of this talk about the film?
That's why we're here. Let's do it. Let's do it.
So before there was a film, right? There was a story. So
right.
Could you please share about the origins of the story?
Yeah. Actually, the story begins with the book Across the Middle, which I wrote last year. When you ask me, people ask me, they say, well, what made you write this story? In truth, it was multiple things. It wasn't like any one thing. It was a few different things, a few different components. The idea of the older man and the younger woman was for undisclosed reasons was an interest. Then there were some things, and I don't know how much I can get because I don't want to give too much away.
We can't give away too much. You gotta watch the film.
Gotta watch the film. But there were some other things. There was a writing that I read from a female writer, which she wrote about a particular topic that really intrigued me. So I wanted to explore that. So I did my research on that, and it's a storyline you're familiar with that we incorporated into the film. But it started with that book. And it's funny when we talk about it, if you read the book Across the Middle, you can tell that as I was writing the book, it started off as a story about Nicholas, the main character, the male character, the character that you play.
That's right.
It was really a story about him and this situation that he was having with this young woman, whose name is Delilah, that he was involved in. But as I was going through the story, as I was finishing it, particularly as I got to the end of it, I noticed, I began to become aware of the fact that it really was about her. And that in truth, Nicholas, though he was still a very important element in the story, it really was, he was more of the conduit from which we saw Delilah and who she was and her struggles. So I realized towards the end that this is really about Delilah. It's not really about Nicholas, though peripherally it is. And so I went back and did some changes to the book, and then after it was done, and when the conversation came up about a film, I knew that I wanted to come more from the perspective of the female. And anyone that sees this film will know that it's a very female-driven film. We have tremendous talent, women talent. In the film, Michelle Batista plays the lead role. Michelle, good job. Akisa Mendez and Virginia Camano and Erica Bermudez, they all put in tremendous performances. Gabby Creeley put in tremendous performances. But when you see the film, you'll see that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what would you say is the underlying message in Delilah?
There's a couple. There's a couple in truth. One,
without spoiling the movie, obviously.
Yeah. One, the most foremost is it's a story of redemption, which I think is a timeless story. I mean, it's a story that, and the reason I think it's timeless is I think because it always exists in the human condition. There's so many examples of, and most of us can relate to it, of knowing where we were and where we came from.
We're all on some path of redemption, whether we share with the world or not.
Exactly.
It may be some interpersonal thing, but we're all trying to redeem ourselves from some action, some period of behavior or whatever.
Absolutely. And so it's about that, but also it's about, understanding that story of redemption that we all love and that we love to read about and hear about and watch doesn't end with a perfect pinpoint at the end. Okay, I've been redeemed and now I'm there, because we're all works in progress.
Right.
And yes, this person may have come a long way and been redeemed to a certain point, but now that's still an imperfect being that's living every day.
Ahead of a new set of challenges.
The new set of challenges, and sometimes the old challenges don't necessarily, just because you overcame it, doesn't mean that you may not fall back, that you may not still have an issue. The difference is, am I closer today to the end where I want to get than I was yesterday?
And how much awareness do I have over myself to maintain myself moving forward, or use my tools to stay on the right path of whatever this redemption may be? Right.
And so that's really what I would say the underlying theme of it is,
I think a lot of people can relate to that. I know I can, so this is not your first film.
No, actually, no, it's not. The first was a short that we did called Love in the Game, which we actually shot during the whole midst of the pandemic. In 2020, we shot it over 3 days. That was an experience.
Right.
And that was my first time being involved, but I wasn't the director of that one.
Well, congrats to you, man, because let me tell you, I think during that period, during COVID, a lot of independent filmmakers, got out there and, did their best to be safe, whatever, got a lot of their work done. So it wasn't a time to really sit back and wait. It was actually a time to get active. So
it was actually a time to get active. And that's funny. That's one of the funny things about COVID. And I said this once, and I was interviewed after I wrote the book, Love in the Game, and people were asking me, about it. And I said, COVID was something of a curse and a blessing, because I never would have written the book if it wasn't for COVID, because it was because of COVID that I had the time to actually sit down for a minute and focus, lock in, because I was so busy with what I call the life and times of living. You're running around, and you don't you keep saying when I get time or if I have time, but you're never gonna have time if you don't make time. And so I think that's one of the things that I learned from COVID is that, if you're going to, you want to do something, you just got to do it. It's about sacrifice. So you might lose money because you're not able to go to work, or but is your dream, do you really believe in your dream enough to sacrifice for it? And if you don't, then I think what you should do is the best thing is just be honest with yourself and say that you don't believe in it enough, and just be content
with what you get with those results,
with what you're doing. Stop, don't complain about it, just do it. So I learned that through COVID, and that's why where I am today, it's about me following what my passions are.
I think that's a great point, because when we talk about creativity, whether you're an artist or an actor or writing a screenplay or creating something, right? A lot of times, like you say, if you or in a different career, you don't have the time. So time actually becomes more valuable than even having the resources to put these things together, or the opportunity to act okay, I can have people who want to put me in films every month, but if I don't have the time to be available, what does it really mean? So we have the time to write and create becomes very valuable, even though we've never been making money in our jobs and stuff like that. So
and resources, I think we spend a lot of time, too much time worrying about resources. Resources will be made available if you step out there.
Right.
But you got to step out there. And it's not easy. I'm not saying that in any way to be condescending to anyone who has a dream that maybe they haven't tried to fulfill. I'm hoping that it will be encouraging.
I would think so.
That you have to step out there, though. It's like what's the old Chinese proverb? The journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step.
The first step.
And the first step sometimes is one that you're not sure about. You gotta step on the shaky ice, but you gotta do it. if you really want to see that vision come to fruition.
And I'll let you speak on it. I mean, we'll move on to some other questions, but I would like you to speak on a little bit. Is that I know from I get involved with one project, it somehow, if the relationships turn good, it leads into other projects. You end up getting support for future projects or future situations based on what you did when you jumped out there.
Right. And I mean, you not only that, you connect with people.
That's what I meant, yes.
Yeah, you connect with people that you would not have connected with otherwise.
At home.
Exactly. You're sitting at the house doing nothing. I mean, for example,
waiting.
For something that may never come if you're sitting around. I mean, even like as far as Michelle Batista, who's in this film, I met her when we cast her for Love in the Game.
Right.
Had I not stepped out there, to do that project, this would have never happened. She would have been a part of this project. And had she not been a part of this project, you wouldn't have been a part of this project because you came to us through her. So this is how it works.
The one yes turns into these domino effects of the support that you may think you're afraid to have. If you don't,
it's there for you. If you
don't know where it's gonna come from, but that's the faith part, right?
And you'd be surprised, how many people. I know everybody talks about. There's a lot of haters, people hating, and that's true
because we focus on it.
But there are a lot of people out there,
supporters out there too, right?
And a lot of the people in my warm market, my warm circle, I'd rather say, not market, but a lot of the people that I interact with, when they heard about what I was doing, wanted to become involved.
How can
I help? There wasn't one person that I went to and asked to use their home or their business as a location that said no.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And not only really good locations for this film.
Great locations. Not only did they not say no, they were, extremely hospitable in how they, opened up to allow me to come in and film at their location, and so.
You would think, I've known personally, I would feel like I've known these people for 10, 20 years.
Yeah.
Who've received and taken care of.
Absolutely. And then what really warms my heart is when I talk to other people. Like I spoke to my aunt the other day who was in no way involved in what we were doing. And she just mentioned, oh yeah, I heard you doing really good. I heard you shooting the film. I heard you shot at so-and-so's place. Yeah. And he told me how, and I was like, yeah. See, so not only did they accommodate us, but they're spreading the word. They're talking about it. They're talking about the experience and how much they enjoyed watching what we were doing. So I mean, it's really a blessing, and I'm just thankful. I'm thankful that to be here at this point in my life, having lived the way I've lived, and to be at this point in my maturity, and have the vision that I have to do some of the things that I'm doing, and to have the means to get it done. It's just a blessing. I'm so thankful because. We don't know how much time we have to be here, so we have to try to take advantage of it.
I agree, and that's why I really I love doing stage and theater because it has this power when you're there in that space, but which I found just as powerful, maybe even a little bit more depending on your perspective, is that once the film is created and it's out there, it lives on forever.
It lives on, and that was important for me as well because a lot of us, even when I started with writing the books, those books are done now. 100 years from now, somebody may pick up that book somewhere. They may find it in a library or online somewhere. Absolutely. They may pick up their book and they're going to read words that I wrote 100 years ago. I'm long and gone now,
right? And it lives on,
but it's still here. And that's something that
that's a big part of the motivation why I do what I do as well. So
and not everybody can say they know what that's like. So so that's what makes it special.
Yep, and also just to put a button on that, when we do this, hopefully it does, and like you're saying, inspire people to be like, I want to make my creative imprint and leave it behind for others to follow. It becomes this trail we leave behind for each other. So. So could you compare the process between doing Love in the Game and Delilah?
Sure, yeah. They're definitely different. I mean, Love in the Game being a short was definitely a different experience than Delilah being a full-length feature film. also, what was different about Loving the Game, I didn't direct it, as I mentioned. So I brought in a director to do it, Deshaun Gandy, who did a fantastic job. But one of the things I learned, because when I look at Loving the Game, I'm very happy with what we did. But I know, that was my first project, first time I ever tried to do it. And I made a rookie mistake in that film, and that is not completely understanding the dynamic of a short and how to really impact with a short. So I attempted to take a 300-page book and condense it into 38 minutes of screen time, which is impossible. So, and I knew I couldn't, but I figured I'd still try to give it a beginning, middle, and ending.
Yes.
But I really think I did the book and the film a disservice by approaching it that way, because you just can't do that. And that, I would have been better served had I just maybe isolated a particular moment in time and did a 30-minute short on that, or a 20-minute short. And just to show, look, this is what this story has.
This is a window into this bigger story.
To this bigger story.
If you're interested, maybe there's a series, maybe there's a feature film, maybe.
Exactly. Which is so. I've never been 100% satisfied. Satisfied with what we did, yes, but not 100% satisfied with the outcome, because I knew
there was more you wanted to get out around the story.
That story is so large, so huge. I still hope and pray that maybe Delilah will create the opportunity for me to circle back and do the larger project with that, which in my prayer would be a limited series, because I think I would need even more than 2 hours to tell that story. It's so big. If I could do something where I was doing 50-minute episodes, 5, 6, 7 episodes, that is more along the lines of what I see.
And I think that's the way to go, because I think the consumer, without probably even being aware of it, we've been conditioned now to consume hours of content. I know we think about TikTok and stuff like how short that stuff is, but we're watching these series. We're watching almost a movie per episode. I think that's how people get more of their stories out, by doing these series. Right, and I agree with that. So that is kind of where I would want to go with it, with that story, and I think it would do really, really well, because there's so many dynamics to it. But Delilah was a totally different. The contrast.
Yeah, it was completely different. Number one, I knew, like I said, with Loving the Game, I had a director that I brought in to do it, and again, I want to just shout out to Sean. You the man, bro. And check him out on his channel. He does. He's very heavy into genealogy, and he does a lot of research on African genealogy. He has some very good content. Deshaun J. Gandy on Instagram and Facebook. Y'all got to check him out. But I saw things during the film that I would have done different. Right. But it wasn't the time for me to interject that, because I brought him in to do a job. And I don't believe in micromanaging people. You get somebody, you bring them in to do a job, let them do their job. He has his own vision as a director for the story and what he wanted to go with it. So I knew when it came to Delilah, I felt more confident, having learned what I learned during Loving the Game. I felt that I was ready to try to direct myself, which I'm glad that I did. And I did learn a tremendous amount. I don't think I'm the same director now that I was at the start of the film.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I've learned so much, and I think all of us grew together.
Throughout this process.
The actors grew, the cinematographer grew. Solomon, I know you're standing right there working the camera. I'm talking about you.
Yes, absolutely.
We all, and towards the end of the film, the last third of the film, we were really clicking. We had gotten into a routine as a unit, and you could feel it. You could feel the energy. I could feel it from the actors. I could feel it from the director of photography. I could feel it from me as a director. We were really clicking, and I think that it really showed in those last couple of months that we were filming. So it was a total different process, but the whole thing, honestly, I got to say, is as much as it was hard, and as much as it was time consuming, as much effort as we put in, it was an effort of love. I enjoyed it, and I would do it all again. And like we joked before, and I was saying, we were clicking so good that right at the end when we were ready to wrap, I was like, okay, guys, wrap. Now let's go back and do it
all
again.
over.
So now we're ready. So let's do it then.
Well, let me take a moment to give you a little, not a little bit, big props, because like I think even with first time filmmakers, like especially when you're the writer and the director, like that can be very challenging for everybody on set if there's any type of like discord between the writer, director, the director, cinematographer,
Did you
and all
hear
type
me
of
arguing
things.
with myself in the back?
Exactly, you got that going on, right? So you know, to be on your first film and being like, okay, I hired this person to do this job, I'm gonna completely trust and fall back, and then like being able to quickly go, okay, well, after watching that finished product and going, well, hey, man, my gut instinct told me to make sure this was clear, that was clear. Now, being able to step into that role, I think, you know, I just want to give you some credit on that.
I appreciate it.
You know, because it's important. Like, I think a lot of times, you know, I'm not going to go too deep into it, but people don't realize how important the energy of the set is. And there's going to be fights and disagreements and this, that, and the third and creative differences. But, like, to be humble enough to be like, you know what, I'm not an expert here. I'm going to fall back and trust. I just want to give you props on that. I think that also shine through with Delilah by letting us make certain choices and giving us certain freedoms as well.
Well, I
As
mean,
actors,
and you know what, and I appreciate that, but I don't even see it that way. I don't feel like I gave you the freedom, because you can't give somebody freedom. Freedom is something
Right.
that's just there. All I wanted to do was have an atmosphere where people could feel comfortable to express themselves.
Okay.
You know, and that's just generally how I like to be in general in anything that I'm doing. So that was kind of second nature for me. And I knew that you guys were professional, and I wanted you to feel free to express your professional creativity. I didn't want to. It's like, okay, I'm not going to bring you into act and then tell you how to act. And that's why I would even push back. And I know you and I a few times, you were like, no, tell me what you want exactly. And I was like, no, I want you to, you know, because I wanted you to know that I trust you to be able to give me what you want. And so my approach is more like, okay, give me what your interpretation is or what your impression is, and then let me see it before I say X, Y, and Z, because maybe, just maybe, I might like what you did a little
maybe
bit
then we
better.
can just mix a little bit of it together.
So then if I don't 100% like it, then I can say, okay, you know what, that was good, but maybe we could try this a little bit too. And then we get it, you know what I mean? But first, let me see what you're going to bring to the table.
And actors have to be okay. Note for all actors out there, you know, actors have to be okay with whatever choices we're making not working. Like if the room says it's not working, it's not wise to continue to fight with that.
Right.
So my approach is just like when I play sports, it's like it's not my game plan. I'm not the coach. Even if I don't agree with the coach's play, I'm gonna run it to the best of my ability. I'm gonna try to execute it to the best of my ability, you know. And then if we lose the game, it's all coach.
I did what you told me to do.
Yeah, but it's similar in that way. You just kind of defer to the coach, you know.
So now let me not sound totally magnanimous. See, that's part of the reason why too. So if you mess it up, if it's your way, okay, it was your no. But I think it worked good, and because we had that environment, I think.
Hold on, I gotta cut you off. But I said that to say. My approach is always to keep the writer, the director's vision in my mind.
And I know that about you.
Even if you let me do choices and stuff.
And I appreciated that, and you always demonstrated that.
Man, this is your story. This is your vision. Like, that's what I'm committed to.
Right, but the environment that I wanted, which is what we had, why it works, is because that created the confidence in each of you to make suggestions about things. And there were several times throughout the course of us filming that you guys came up with suggestions that I took and actually used, and it was like, you know what, that's a good idea.
Especially our star, Batista. She's very creative.
Yeah, well, we still negotiating about
a
co-director's credit for her. But no, I appreciated
awesome,
I appreciated the input, because, you know, a lot of times it was good input, you know, and you guys
come from experience and not ego. You know what I mean?
It came from, and it was good that, because in the times when I didn't take it, nobody took it personal. It was like, okay, no, I don't like that. Y'all like, okay, move right
forward, because it's all about moving forward and show us.
And y'all did, and that was really cool.
All right, cool. So, what are the plans for the film? Distribution, streaming, festivals?
You know, festivals, that again takes us back to the other question you asked me about comparing. With Love in the Game, we focused a lot on festivals, and you know, we went and we did well with the festivals. We did well at the New York Hip Hop Festival, where we were recognized well. Also, the Bronze Lens Festival in Atlanta.
Okay.
And the one that I really loved and enjoyed was the Golden Door Film Festival right here in Jersey City.
Beautiful.
Which was tremendous. And again, to your point earlier about how doing those things connects you, at that festival is where I met Virginia.
Some key players in this film.
Virginia Kamano, who became one of the stars of the film, and actually is one of the executive producers of the film. She helped with finances and things in the film. She's fantastic. She's vacationing in Spain right now. Virginia, te amo, mami, te amo. She is doing. She was tremendous. I met Stephanie Scheider, who is who played two different characters in the film and did an outstanding job. I know she did a fun scene with you, right?
Yeah.
The expression on your face tells the whole thing.
Well,
got it.
No spoilers. Watch my face spoiler.
Yeah.
Let me cover
Chino, who was one of the camera operators on the film, who did some good work with us. Chino Cordoba. So you know that.
Darwin.
Well, Darwin, I've known Darwin for years. Me and Darwin go back before Izzy was born, before my daughter was born.
Okay. I get it.
Darwin and I worked together in the insurance business.
Okay, gotcha.
Years ago. So,
Gotcha.
Leaf, who also was one of the camera guys who came through Solomon.
Yep.
Leaf Audius, who did a fantastic job.
All good character people.
I mean, great
people.
Great. Just, I mean, fantastic people. Just, you know, really, really, really great. But we did well with the festivals. But with Delilah, what I learned from that, I mean, I'm not opposed to festivals now, and I probably will enter the film into one or two of the festivals, but it'll be a more select group of festivals, not like I did with the first one. Because while the festivals are good and people see it, to me it's kind of like preaching to the choir. Festivals are all industry people.
Right.
And industry people are coming from their perspective, and you know, I love the accolades and the kudos and all that, but I want this, my whole purpose for writing the books and for now doing these films is to tell stories that reach people, that resonate with people, that people can relate to. I'm looking for people, you know, that couple that's Netflix and chill at home, you know, I want them to see this film.
Right.
So I knew that I wanted to focus more on distribution. And in today's,
I say in this day and age, I mean,
that's where it is, you know. And it's,
we got that freedom now.
We have that freedom now, and it creates an opportunity for us to reach our market directly. You know what I mean? We don't have to go through these big companies and things anymore. So we're looking at distribution for this film, and I want to shout out my man Omar Salgado from Fast Forward Films, who will be, he's also the director of acquisitions for Dame Dash Studios, and he works closely with Homestead Entertainment, Fox Soul, and you know, Peacock and some of the other high-profile platforms. He's got those connects in, and Fast Forward
all
Films.
platforms on the rise.
All platforms on the rise, and Fast Forward Films, Omar, they're going to be responsible for helping us with the distribution on this film. He's waiting for me eagerly to get everything done in post-production.
It's coming.
So Corey, hurry up, get this film edited, let's be done so we can get it over, because Omar is eager for it, and I want to get it to him, and so we can start to move forward. He's had some very good conversations with some big people, James DeBose and others, about the film, and there's an interest for it, and it looks like we're going to do hopefully very well with it. So,
well, I believe so.
I'm looking forward to it. But let me ask you a question since we're here.
Okay, all right.
Because this is not. I don't want this. This is not Jonathan interviewing me. This is a conversation that we're having.
I'm on the hot seat again.
Yeah, remember that?
Oh man,
we had it. But I mean, you as an actor, I mean, how did you feel about just the experience first? Let's deal with that. How was your experience with the film in general?
I would say that the experience was rich, right? And because I always look at things as a learning perspective. Like, I don't want to. I'm gonna try to make this brief because I'm long-winded, but I'm gonna start with just like the experience of, like, I've never done a feature lead role before, right? So, and then
I gave him his first shot, y'all. Remember that?
and then I mean, I've been in feature films before, but just supporting roles or day player roles and stuff like that. So like to take on something like this that was romantic, that was a stretch. The heart and soul of this film is a lot of drama between the love relationship and also a lot of like beautiful, like touching like moments. So it was great to exercise the craft in those spaces I haven't really tapped on before. I've done detectives and authoritative figures and stuff like that, but never like the love interest or anything like that. I didn't even see myself one of those type of actors. I ain't one of the Shamar Moore type of people from back in our day. Those type of actors. But it was cool to really allow myself to stretch in those in that area. So from that perspective, great, amazing. From a professional standpoint, just really it really helped me to do this feature, to do all these different scenes, to get that training, to build that muscle, and to explore this character, and because it's a heavy film, y'all.
Okay. Now, what was your process of how you tapped into this character of Nicholas, and just so people know, I mean, you've done a lot of work. I've seen a lot of your stuff, like you were mentioning some of the things, like you did the History Channel show where you portrayed Famous Amos.
Absolutely.
Which is seen all over the world.
Right, yeah, it's streaming right now actually on the History Channel app and YouTube and Hulu. So you can check that out, folks. But I
mean, how did you tap into the character of Nicholas in particular?
Well, when I first read when I first said yes, I had the size, right? And immediately I connected with Nicholas because, I'm somewhat into philosophy. Even like one of the books that's mentioned in the opening scene is like stuff that I've read, that I've studied, that I've put into my life. So it was kind of dope to see this black professor, let's keep it 100, who was, had this perspective of of life, which is kind of like this universal perspective, but then also very conservative at the same time in other aspects of his life.
Right.
So to have that contrast and try to make that come to life was a great challenge, But I had a lot of fun with it. But I had things to pull from, even from the most the aspects of Nicholas that were very, I don't want to say dark, but may have taken him to dark places, or some situations that he found himself in with Delilah may have triggered some things, or I don't want to tell too much here, but it put me in a situation where I had to really dig deep, find things as an actor to connect with, to try to bring through. But it was pretty much familiar, even though I've never been married.
Now that's interesting, because that's where I was going to go. How much of what you experienced as Nicholas, and what Nicholas experienced, I should say, with Delilah, how much of that do you think Jonathan could have, or how would Jonathan have handled that? Would he been similar to what Nicholas did in those situations, or do you think you would be completely different? Would Jonathan be able to put up with Delilah?
That's a great question. I think Jonathan would have some of the same, inhibitions, or reluctant to get involved. But I think Jonathan is spontaneous, probably more than Nicholas. So he probably would explore. But when it comes to we already know there's an age difference and stuff like that. Now in my real life, I have yet to really have that type of relationship where there's a younger gap. It's always been the opposite end of the spectrum. I've dated older women who are significantly older than me when I was in my 20s, but I've never really dated a woman who's been that significantly younger than me. So I can't really say what I would do or won't do. Now, if you asked me 2 years ago, I'd probably be like, oh man, I never dated a younger woman. But as you get older, you still see that younger women are still attracted to you. It puts you in this place of moral. There's this moral code and this, that. But in between all of that, I guess across the middle is love, right?
And my thing, see, that's part of what I wanted to do with Delilah too. I wanted to break some of those molds. I mean, why would there even be a connection or a consideration of morality when we're talking about an age difference? What makes it less moral for someone, say in my age range, to be involved with a woman in her late or 20s or 30s.
Right.
Why is that even a question of morality? Is it really an issue? And so, I wanted to, with this film, bring some of those issues out, and some of the others that we can't really go into without spoiling the film at this time. But I wanted to approach some of these topics and kind of shatter some of those misconceptions and shatter some of those, fly in the face of some of that stuff, and even things. I think we can admit from what some of the clips and things we put out, we know that there's a issue Delilah has with some drug addiction,
right?
Which we can talk about, and I think that that's something that we need to look at. What are the causes for some of it, and how and why she expresses herself in this way, and challenge some of those ideals and kind of push back on them a little bit.
Yeah, I agree as well, and I think just from my personal perspective, it's like I think when it comes to younger people getting involved with more mature people, I think it's a case-by-case scenario, and I think there is an age group that is kind of like, for a guy my age, I'm in my 40s, that's kind of like off limits, like when I think about early 20s and stuff like that, but yes, maybe there is a woman who's 28, 30 years old who can be compatible with her. I mean, we've seen this throughout history. I mean, it's not like, but there are situations where, okay, we have to ask ourselves, is this a healthy situation for either person?
Right.
Or is it just, but when it's true love, and like what this story will show is that there's definitely a potential that this can be something that can work.
And I think that, we used it before, and Delilah asked the question, is love, what if love really doesn't conquer all? What if love really doesn't conquer all? Like you said, across the middle there's love. But is love always a determining factor as to whether or not it's a good relationship or a good...
A lot of times it's not.
It's not.
Or what we call love, what we think love.
And then like the question we ask, if you could know everything that there is to know about the person that you love,
right.
If you could know everything about them,
you still
would you really, first, would you want to really?
Right.
Would you really want to? And if you did, would you still love them?
Right.
That's
real talk.
And I think that's what Delilah kind of presents you with.
Like
Nicholas is presented with that reality, and actually retrospect as well. Delilah's presented with it as well, because she's got to deal with. Does she really want to know what Nicholas really thinks?
Right.
About the situation, and can she handle that reality? You know what I'm saying? That's the kind of question. I mean, I don't know. What do y'all think? Would you want to know?
But would you want to know? But I also want to say is that sometimes there's a younger woman who gets with an older man who may have lived a certain type of life, a rough life or whatever, where she had to grow up fast, where maybe guys in her age group,
and women tend to mature faster than men,
right?
Anyway,
and then even if even if it's not their actual natural age, their circumstances cause them to grow up in a certain way where only a mature man can handle, maybe, I don't know if that's right, but like to be able to like to connect with that type of situation, because we all are responsible for handling our own life. That's why I was reluctant to say handle, because we're all responsible for handling our own life. But could it be also like, certain couples match because of not so much the age, but like their life experience kind of keeps them in some form of alignment, And then again, there's this magic thing that happens where you love who you love, like they say.
And sometimes, and that's the X factor in it. When you consider, we can sit here and reason out all of these things and intellectualize these different aspects of relationships, but sometimes it comes down to that raw point of, look, this is how I feel, and that at the end of the day, I think probably in most cases trumps everything.
Yep.
And I think that's what eventually happens with Nicholas.
So the discomfort that Nicholas felt is something that in my real life I would feel. If like a younger woman was to show me interest, like what's happening at the job sometimes, or even on certain sets, like I've noticed that a younger woman is like giving me that energy, like I'm interested in you. And like it's almost like when a little kid has a crush on an older person, like it's almost like, oh, how cute. You know, but there's been a few situations where it was like, oh wow, she's a nice person, but you think about the age, you go, she's gotta live a little bit longer to get involved with somebody like me. I may scar you for life, baby. But, no, I was just kidding. But like, you know, that I would have that same discomfort that, you know, that Nicholas was you know, experiencing in the beginning. You know?
All right. Well, I don't know. I think
we all know that he pushed past that.
he did push past that, and I think
And that was the least of his concerns.
Hey, well, Delilah will be available hopefully late this summer in August, or we should have all of the editing done. When it's done, then I'll be getting with Omar and the good people over at Fast Forward and seeing what our next step is going to be. But we can look for it sometime, I would imagine, in the early fall in September, probably most likely.
Yeah.
Which will be great. We'll be.
And for those of you who are going to see this, like, I really think it's a smart, thought-provoking, universal film that people can feel, like you were saying earlier, relatable.
Yes.
As far as like redemption and like we've all gone through stuff that we had to overcome. We all have to like operate in certain situations where people are looking at our situation like, why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? Whether it's interracial dating, age gaps, whatever the challenges may be of a relationship. But
I mean, and that brings me back. Before we hang up, I want to go into that. A lot of different issues come into this, and one of them that I think that we didn't discuss that is an issue, and I was reminded of it. How do you feel? How do you feel about the whole, thing of colorism? And that here we have, with you as now and as a dark skinned black man,
right,
and playing a role and opposite someone like Michelle. Obviously there people look at that and there's even though it's not like as if but then there's Virginia who plays your ex-wife,
right?
Who is
obviously not a black woman,
who's obviously right. And then it's like, okay, wait a minute, what's going on with this brother? Right. With this brother, how do you feel about that?
Well, first is that I think it's great because I follow social media, and with even like the younger generation is talking about I would say from 30 to like 20, even 20 years old. This is a conversation that even like young interracial kids who are born out of interracial relationships are talking about a lot on TikTok and so forth like that. So it's a great talking point. But personally, like I was like, wow. Like, as I got into the script, I was like the for those who know me, I'm pro-black, but I'm also very I have a universal approach towards life. So I try to behave in a way that transcends race and so forth like that. But this is the physical reality, and I thought about like, wow, like what does this really look like? What type of role what am I portraying? Will I be speaking for the brothers who are like, yeah, see, this is the way to go, and this is the only way to go? Because I personally don't have a problem with interracial relationships. I think love is beautiful, but when you go, okay, I'm only dating white women or Latina women because my African American sisters are something negative. Like you pent them, you say I'm choosing this because I don't like that. If you love that, it should be just that. I love white women. I love but now
let me ask you that though. Is that I mean, how do you feel about that though? Can you just say, is it okay to say, oh, I only like white women, or I only like Latinas? I think when it comes to, isn't that some type of a bias in itself though?
A prejudice, but again,
or is it just a preference?
I would say it's a preference. If it's not, I only do this because of everybody else is trash, or when it's if you like what you like. Like if I like Deer Park water, I don't have to discredit all the other types of water to dig up Deer Park. Is what I like. Did I just do a plug? My bad.
We don't want to plug.
Better have to cut that out. But my point is the same. But it's a very, very good talking point. And for myself personally, like there was some like I had to ask myself like, okay, well, are you okay with like portraying this like on film? It's gonna live forever. Like people won't be able to say what they want to say about you actually even choosing that role.
Right.
People who may say, okay, well, here we go again. This was the successful brothers do, but let's have the conversation. Let's talk about it because there's a lot to unpack there. So,
I agree with that. I agree. So, and well,
Definitely something I thought about.
so I'm like you. You know, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, even though I directed it, it's really kind of in the editor's hands at this
Right.
point. I'm interacting with him regularly to, you know, exchanging ideas and things on how we're going to do it, different things, different aspects. But we're getting close now, so I'm excited about everything, and I'm looking forward to its eventual release wherever we land, whatever platform we're on. I will be doing another phase of interview, talk, discussion like this. Being that this film is so female driven, I wanted to have an opportunity to sit down with the beautiful women
Bring
of
the ladies in,
Delilah.
yep.
And they're all beautiful in their own way, and they're all beautiful spirits and beautiful energies.
Multi-talented.
Multi-talented. So I'll be
Out here
looking
putting work in the community.
putting it in, doing it every day.
Frontliners.
So I'm looking forward to sitting down with Akisa and Michelle and Virginia and Erica and Gabby, and even bringing my little baby, my little daughter,
Who's the real star of everything, right? She's acting, producing,
she does it all. She's
PA,
PA. She does it all. She's gonna be there.
keeping us in line sometimes.
So we'll be doing that soon, hopefully. But hopefully you guys will go out and watch Delilah. When it's ready, we'll be letting you know where you can see it. And we look forward to you enjoying the film. So thank you.
Thank you.
Jay, thanks.
No doubt, no doubt. All right.